Maybe. Hi. Yes. Okay. Hi, it's Crystal Lynn. 26 minutes it took for me to get online today because my computer was like, nope, not having it. I'm a Mac. I'm 3,000 bucks and I have an attitude. So just saying that I apologize for being late and not on Zoom, but I just couldn't get anything to open and I feel very lucky to be here even just with what I have going live directly on Facebook. Now, I am praying that this is actually recording and something weird isn't happening, but we shall see. I might have to re-record this session for you all for in the group. In the meantime, I also realized that I don't know how to share my screen from Facebook Live. I don't know that I can share my screen with Facebook Live. So that's okay because you all who are in the program, you have the curriculum. So I'm going to just tell you what is going on right now. My name is Crystal Lynn Bell, and I am teaching a class called Badass Butterfly Spiritual Life Coach Mindset Training Program. And this is a program that I've put together for people who are interested in becoming a spiritual life coach. And you are new to this idea, you have this feeling in your soul like, yeah, I would really love to be a life coach, but you've never done it before. And you may not have ever, maybe you've never even had spiritual life coaching yourself, but you have a feeling that this is something that you would like to do and your spirit is calling you to it. Well, that's how it happened for me. And hello, 10 years later, I am doing it and absolutely loving it and helping other women like you come into this. And it is just, it's awesome. So in this program, I'm going to be taking you through uh, a, a really it's a very particular understanding. I'm very spiritual and I like working with people who are very spiritual. So this program that I've created, it's absolutely free to join, so you can join it anytime you want to. But this program is meant to help you understand exactly what your mindset needs to be as you embark on this journey of becoming a spiritual life coach. Because it's not at all obvious. It's not like, for most people, it's not super clear, like how you go from being, I'm spiritual, I love spirit, I love, stones and chakras, and I'm curious about that stuff, but I want to help other people, but I've never done it before. So this program is going to help you get your head around that, okay? Becoming a spiritual life coach. So it's like, I've never done it before, but I want to be one. So that's what we're going to be doing in this program. So this is the second day of the program, all right? And today we are going to be talking about, we're going to pick up from where we left off yesterday. Now, yesterday we talked about your caterpillar self, all right? So my program is Badass Butterfly, and I love butterflies. We all love butterflies. But what we tend to forget is that before the butterfly was this flying beast, it was a little crawling beast. And how the butterfly becomes a butterfly from a caterpillar is kind of the thing that makes the butterfly so magical, so powerful, so wonderful. Okay, so what we did yesterday was we explored how we today, we explored how we are living the caterpillar's life. And so we looked at our beliefs, we looked at our behaviors, and the things that are keeping us kind of grounded and rooted to our current way of living, right? And then what we're going to do today is move away from that idea of I'm a caterpillar, these things are holding me back, and we're actually going to focus on, well, when I become a butterfly, What's that going to look like? All right. So we're going to be talking about that today. Now, before we get started on that, I want to talk a little bit more, just a little bit more about being a caterpillar. And why this is so important is simply because it's hard to change. It's really, really hard to change. Why is it so hard to change? And I'm 52 and I'm finding it hard to change. However, I am dedicated to becoming the person I need to in order to serve my people, in order to live that dream that I have of being a really, really great coach, right? So, as I said, I've been coaching for 10 years and I'm a really good coach. I feel very, very honored that I'm gifted naturally as a coach, but I've also been, I've managed to stick with this business for the last 10 years. So it's put me in a really, really powerful position to know my stuff really, really well. But it doesn't mean that there's not more growth to do. There is a lot more. There's more that I can achieve as far as my own understanding of life and myself and my philosophy as a spiritual being. And there are more people that I can help, and I can make my business more and more efficient, and I can, help to make it more bring it to more people, right? So this is a very expansive opportunity for me to keep creating in my life and to keep growing and to keep expanding. For those of you who are in this program, I want you to think about yourself as a caterpillar, because most likely if you're here right now, you are still held back by limiting beliefs. Like the caterpillar's story, you're still earthbound. You have some habits that maybe aren't serving you, that you haven't let go of. Maybe you've made some bad decisions in your past, and maybe you've not forgiven yourself for those decisions. Yeah, maybe you're still making some choices that are coming from your past trauma, or those a habitual way of seeing life, of reacting to life. Okay, that is what I would call some serious caterpillar behavior. All right, because as a badass butterfly, it's new. You aren't doing things the old way. You once were a creature of the ground, of the earth, and now you are a creature with wings, beautiful wings, and you fly. And you can fly pretty high. And whereas before, the obstacles and challenges that you faced were three-dimensional. They were, you had to crawl over this rock, or you had to crawl around this leaf, okay? Well, now the obstacles and challenges that you're facing, they're different. They're of the air. You might have to be dealing with wind currents and changing wind. And maybe instead of getting around by using your physical self and your legs, maybe now, you have to ride the wind currents to get you to the place that you're going. You have to feel your way more. So this is really important, because when you're a caterpillar, um, your life is very rooted to the three dimensions. And when you transform, you're moving into those higher dimensions. And that's really important to understand. So for today's work, and in the curriculum, and I'm so sorry that I'm not on Zoom. I don't know how to share my screen from Facebook. I should just take a quick peek here to see. I don't see any way to share my screen. If you happen to know, and you can just type me a note and say, Crystal, the button is over here, that would be very helpful. But regardless, if you are in the program, you know where the curriculum is. And you know that you have your workbook, okay? So in your workbook, there's the next section where you can type in your answers, and the questions, the curriculum, are in the curriculum, excuse me. The write-up and the questions are in the curriculum that you're going to need to do for today, all right? Um, so, um, so I just told you about your caterpillar life, um, and we've talked about the kind of internal processes that a caterpillar, the internal processes that are keeping you in the caterpillar state. Well, in order to be a spiritual life coach, right? You really, and my whole thing is being a badass butterfly spiritual life coach. The badass butterfly part means that you have done the work on yourself to transform yourself. And the spiritual life coach part means that you have done the work to create yourself as a life coach, okay? And the thing is, from where you are right now as the caterpillar and to becoming the badass butterfly spiritual life coach, it's pretty easy. Because number one, in order to transform yourself, you're not transforming for perfection. Oh, Apollo's knocking at the door. I'm sorry, excuse me. Doggy must be let in. Come on, boo-boo. Come on. Yeah. Hey, buddy. Hi, sweet boy. All right. Sorry about that. So when you're making that transformation from caterpillar to spiritual life coach, it's not that you're aiming for perfection. You don't have to heal yourself perfectly in order to heal others. But the thing that you have to be doing is you have to be making those hard decisions on behalf of yourself so that you can be helping other people make the hard decisions on behalf of themselves. So here's what I mean. Let me get a little bit more specific. I am a life coach and I help other people who want to transform their mindset and they want to transform their lives. That's my job as a life coach. Well, I am in no way a perfect human being, and in no way do I need to be perfect in order to be qualified to help other people heal and transform their lives. But what helps a lot is that I am doing the work to make myself not perfect, but I'm living my best life. I'm making the decisions for myself to bring health and happiness to myself and the world around me. I'm practicing what I preach. I'm walking the talk. So that's what you really need to do. And when you make the decision, when you feel that calling to move from caterpillar to butterfly, it's that feeling of the thing that's going to get you through metamorphosis is your willingness to change, your willingness to let go of bad habits, your willingness to let go of compulsions, your willingness to let go of fear, to not be held back by things that hold you back, to not let your emotions rule you. When you make that decision to stop being small, when you make the decision to stop playing small, then you're in the badass butterfly territory. All right, you're in the cocoon, sure, but it's those hard decisions to reach for the things that are beyond your comfort zone. Those are the things that are good, that make you a badass butterfly. Okay, now in order to become a spiritual life coach, you must embody that woman who does hard things, that person who advocates for their higher self. that person who strives for their greatest potential. And it's the striving that makes you badass. It's the striving that makes you qualified to help others, because you may not heal another person completely. You may not heal yourself completely. But if you're doing the work and you're seeing the changes, you're evolving, you're expanding, that's good enough. That is good enough. We don't need you to be perfect. We don't need you to cure everybody and make everyone perfect, but we do need you to be striving to improve and helping other people do the same. So, um, for today's work, in the program, in the curriculum, we're going to be looking at that future you. So, what do you look like when you are someone who is striving, when you are someone who is making the hard decisions for herself, when you're someone who is looking at your negative beliefs and changing them? When you are looking at your bad habits and you're changing them, when you are looking at your emotions, right? Whereas you used to be driven by your emotions. When you are looking at your emotions and you're managing them in a healthy way, meaning instead of letting your emotions rule you, you're holding space and you're doing the hard work. You're making the hard decisions in spite of the fear, in spite of those big negative emotions. When you are showing up like that for yourself, how does that look when you're the woman who shows up for herself on a consistent basis? And you've been doing that for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year. How do you look a year from now when you have made all those hard decisions? You've advocated for yourself. You are showing up for yourself. You are changing your mindset, and you are walking in your power on a regular basis. How does that how do you look? What has changed about you? That is the work that we are doing today in the curriculum. So I'm going to go to the curriculum right now, and I'm going to, and I'm so sorry that I cannot share my screen to show you this, but you're going to have to just take my word for it. It's there, okay? So again, the lesson for today starts off with a write-up and some things for you to just be thinking about for today, okay? And it talks about what it means to be a badass butterfly and a spiritual life coach, all right? And then there is the home fun for this for today. And look, our next meeting is going to be on Thursday, so you have a couple of days. If you didn't quite finish the caterpillar work yesterday, that's okay. You can finish that up today, tomorrow, and then you can start this butterfly stuff today. Either way, our next meeting is on Thursday, same time, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you can have this done by then, it'll be great. And then if you have if you want feedback from me, I'm more than happy to give it to you either during the live stream, or you can type your questions in the question thread in the curriculum, or you can leave your questions for me on Facebook as well in the group. That would be great. All right. So for home fun, you've got two things for today. There is a video that I included. I just came across this video and I thought it was just really, really cute. So I included that video for you to watch, and it's called The Talk. All right, so that is in the curriculum. And then there is the work for your workbook. And there's a section that's called The Badass Butterfly, Your After Story, Your Future Self. So in that section, you can write out uh, your answers to the following prompts. So I'm going to go over those prompts with you very quickly, all right? And this, again, is an opportunity for you to get in touch with your future self, to come to understand who it is that Spirit is calling you to be. So when Spirit gave you the idea that you should be a spiritual life coach, it wasn't to torture you, and it wasn't to dangle a carrot in front of you that you would never be able to achieve, okay? Spirit gave you the calling to be a life coach because becoming a life coach would take you to another level of your existence. Like the caterpillar, becoming a butterfly, it gets a calling to become the badass butterfly. Well, you are like the caterpillar who has gotten a calling to become the spiritual life coach. And what we want to do in today's home fun is to kind of imagine what that feels like, what it looks like. And we're going to then use that to help us understand what we need to do, what we need to change in order to become that. Okay. So today you're going to look at your future self, your badass butterfly self. All right. So the way I'm going to have you do that, and I've got all this written down for you in the curriculum, but you're going to tune into your future self. Now, the thing to remember is that in every caterpillar, the butterfly already exists, okay? So the caterpillar is this little tubey guy, and inside the little tubey guy is a winged being with its wings folded in. And the butterfly mind is there, the caterpillar mind is there, okay? Two minds in one being. And the, it's the same thing for you. You have your butterfly inside of you. And what we want to do is tune in to her. So that's the very first step for the home fun for tonight, okay? Tune into your badass butterfly. And I have you do a few things to help you get into that. All right. Now, what I want you to do while you're going through this is to write down um, what you're experiencing. You don't have to write it down right away, but I want you to, you can take notes as you go, or you can do some of this and then write it down, or you can go through the whole experience and then write down what you experienced afterward. That's entirely up to you. Work in a way that feels great for you. But I do want you to document the experience you've had because it's going to be really, really important for your future. A year from now, you're going to look back at this and you're going to be like, huh, that's interesting. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is to tune into your badass butterfly self. Okay. And then I want you to allow your badass butterfly self to come to your mind. Now, I don't want you to think that you should be imagining a butterfly. If you do, and that feels great for you, I know that some of you might actually really appreciate that, particularly if you're artistic. I have a particular person in mind as I'm saying this, but if you imagine yourself as a butterfly, that would be perfectly fine. I personally, when I'm doing this work, I see myself as a woman. And in the Facebook group, I showed you a picture because I went online searching for someone who looked like my higher self. I had this image when I'm doing my meditation with my future self. I I have a very specific image that comes through for me, and I'm always amazed by what comes through. Like, why are you looking like that? Well, I went online and I wanted to find a woman in a white suit, and the very first image looked exactly like the image of my future self that comes to mind. The body was the same, the hair was the same, and the skin tone was the same. It was really, really fascinating. So, I want you to use your imagination because, in my opinion, this stuff is really, really powerful. So I want you to imagine your how your butterfly looks, and allow that to really come into your mind. Then I want you to go and meet your badass butterfly self. I want you to introduce yourself. All right. And I have all these details written out, so I'm going to just speed through this to make sure that, just to give you an overview. All right. So you're going to tune in, you're going to imagine yourself, your future self, and then you're going to go meet your future self and introduce yourself. When you're meeting your future self, I want you to observe how you feel, because it's interesting. Some people feel a very loving tenderness, but other people feel a little intimidated. When I met my future self, I was kind of like, 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 I was meeting this person. I'm like, oh my God, she's intimidating. I need to stand up straight. I need to hold in my stomach. I need to like, let me show up. Let me show up. Let me be present here. So notice how your future self makes you feel, because when if you're too intimidated by your future self, that might let you know that you're afraid to go toward that way of being. So that means you've got some work to do on your own mindset and your own emotions, right? So anyway, just things to think about. We'll talk about this as time goes on here. So you're going to observe how your future self makes you feel, and you're going to notice also how your future self reacts to you. My future self, again, I was intimidated, and she was like a monk. She was not judgmental at all. She just stood there in her power and allowed me to be who I am. And that was part of the intimidating process, because she was so comfortable in herself, and she loved me. You could tell she loved me because she had compassion behind her eyes, but she was not going to let my nervousness affect her. That was so powerful. Anyway, let me keep on moving here. um so let's see. So the other thing I want you to notice is the environment where your future self, your badass butterfly self, what kind of environment is she in? My future self was in a very white environment. Everything was white. There was a lot of light. There were billowing white curtains, and everything was really, really pristine. There was a lot of air and light, and she was in white, and her house was all white. And I was in her house, by the way. Your higher self or your future self might meet you on the beach. She might meet you in a coffee shop. I don't know. But describe the environment. Have fun. Go into detail. Go and snoop around and see what comes up for you, right? And make sure, please, that you document everything in your workbook. Make sure you write everything down, all right? The next thing you're going to do is to interview your badass butterfly, and you can ask her anything you want. And I have a list of questions that I think are important, but you can make up your own questions. You can use these questions or not use these questions. But just to give you a little quick recap, a quick overview of what the questions um, I have down. So what do you do? Ask her. So what do you do? Um, Another important question for me when I'm working with my future self is, how do I get from where I am now to where you are, right? I also asked her what her goals and ambitions are, because even though she's my future self, she's not my like she's not my dead self. Like, she's not the me that has lived life and then died. She's a part of me that's still alive, and so she's still creating, she's still moving forward, she's still expanding, right? So I'm like, what are your goals and ambitions? See how they differ from mine. And then I asked another question is, how do you achieve your goals? How do you fulfill your desires? And then I have here for you to ask, how do you handle blank? And I have a blank there for you to just fill in, like with something that you struggle with, right? So, for example, how do you handle your finances? How do you handle your relationship? How do you handle having multiple boyfriends at one time? Like, how do you handle these things? Okay. Just ask any question, any struggles that you're dealing with, right? How do you handle it when Apollo doesn't come to you when you call him, right? Or when he's off chasing deer in the forest and not responding to you, okay? Another question, what thoughts dominate your mind space most of the time? So how does she think? I know how I go about my day and how my thoughts are going. I'm curious about how my future self, who has her stuff all together, she's done all the work, how what does she think about all day, right? And then what emotions does she predominantly feel and what key habits does she practice every day? All right. So that is your home fun in a nutshell. And uh, I want to check in on Facebook because I was so in my curriculum. I wasn't even like checking on Facebook to see who's with me. And I have Jessica Louise. Hey, Jessica. So good to see you. Hi. Let's see. She says, record. Thank you so much. This sounds so fun. It is fun. I love this practice. And this is a game, this is a life-changing practice that will make you understand very clearly who you are. And one of the reasons this practice is really really important for this year. So the year 2022 is a 6 year, and the number 6 is the is a number of harmony and unconditional love. And when you what I'm basically asking you to do in this exercise is to meet your best partner. And your best partner is yourself. When you make a relationship with your future self, it's like making a bridge between your higher self and your earthly self. And when you come together with that being and you develop a relationship, an intimacy, boy, you become really unstoppable because you are aligned with your greatest potential and you have a partner, someone who is there, your teacher, your mentor, your leader is right there with you inside yourself. And that is what we are doing. And it is a really, really powerful practice. And Jessica says, I felt intimidated the first time and I didn't journal any of it. I'm so honored to have the opportunity to do it again with what you know now. Yeah, absolutely. And she said yours was also very white. Yep, it's amazing because I'm not really, and look, I'm wearing white today. I didn't even realize that. How funny is that? The subconscious mind, my inner self is really kicking. But and of course she is. Of course she is. She's doing her job. All right. And Rebecca's here. She's saying hi. Hi, Rebecca. All right. So let's see. I want to make sure that I cover everything that I need to cover. And let's see. Yes, I am actually right on time. So um, here's one thing I want to say. I want to give you one more thing. So when you meet your badass butterfly spirit, your badass butterfly inside, you are meeting that aspect of you who is really wise and who wants to come out here and create in the world, right? Now, you have a calling to be a spiritual life coach. So I'm assuming that your badass butterfly is going to break free and she's going to be the badass butterfly spiritual life coach, right? So that inner process of the healing and the things that you need to have in place internally, you and your badass butterfly are going to work on that together. Okay, that's a part of your inner growth, your inner development. Well, as a spiritual life coach, you also need to have a business. And I just want you to also be thinking that, okay, I need to get my inner self together, but then there are a bunch of things that I need to do in my um, to create a business for myself so that I can actually bring in clients to help. And I have to do a bunch of things. So what I'm going to just give you right now is just a really quick recap of some of the things you need to have in place in order to actually be able to bring your wonderful services and your wonderful ideas to the world, okay? So you first need to establish yourself as a spiritual life coach, right? So you have to learn how to coach people, okay? You need to learn how to listen to them, and you need to learn how to address their needs, all right? And you also, as a coach, you have to have a specialty. You have to have a niche, a thing that is your focus of your concentration, a thing where you are, um, that you have put a lot of time into studying and that you are really, really good at. Okay, so you can't really be good at everything. It's better to be good at one thing, or one thing that has a couple of legs or a couple of branches to it, right? So for me, um, I'm really good at unworthiness. That's my coaching niche, unworthiness. Well, I have a few things that are under unworthiness. So for example, illegitimacy is one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about, helping people understand where they're illegitimate, right? So my specialty is unworthiness with an emphasis on illegitimacy. All right, but anyway, that's my niche. Okay, that's my specialty. Um, in addition to doing those things, you also need to develop your spiritual philosophy. So I have a whole philosophy around unworthiness and illegitimacy, right? Once you determine your niche, you need to develop your understanding of it and how you talk about it, what you share, what's important to you about these things, okay? Because there are a lot of coaches out there, but everybody has their own specialty, and you need to express what your specialty is. I call that your spiritual philosophy, right? Now, once you really start developing your spiritual philosophy, you have to share it, okay? And you share it on your blog, you can write a book, you can share it here on social media, you can make videos. But these are all the things that you really need to have in place if you're going to be a life coach, in order for people to be able to find you and to know that you exist, and um, to work with you, okay? So you have to have all these things in place. You have to build your following on social media. You have to build your email list. You have to create a system of healing. So once you come up with your specialty and you have your philosophy, well, you have to be able to help people transform. So if they come in, they're at point A, you have to be able to get them to point B. Well, you need a system to be able to do that. You can't just sprinkle fairy dust powder on them and then they're like, okay, I'm transformed, boom, right? You can do that. That's what Reiki is, right? Reiki is like, I'm going to hold space for you. I'm going to transmit this beautiful energy through my hands to you. But that's not what life coaches do. That's what Reiki healers do. So you can be a healer and a Reiki master, okay? You can be a spiritual life coach who also does Reiki, but see, that is your system. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. Do you do Reiki and do you do life coaching? What combination? How do you do it? That's what you have to come up with, right? You also have to have a website, okay? And you have to have a curriculum where people can come and learn about you and receive your materials. All that has to be in place. And this is something that nobody ever talks about, but you actually have to have a payment system in place. You have to know how to charge people. You have to know how to collect payments. You have to know how to organize your money. You have to know how to have a budget. You have to know how to, how much things cost. You have to do all those things. So, in a nutshell, those are the things that you have to be thinking about as a spiritual life coach, okay? So, as you go over the home fund for today and you're into your badass butterfly self, just understand that once you all get cracking with your relationship, you're going to have to take action on following your soul's divine purpose, which is to become a life coach. Those are the things that you're going to need to be thinking about at some point. All right? Boom. Now that's basically all I have to say. I went through the question thread and there were no new questions in the question thread. So that's it for us for today. And I'm just checking here. Rebecca, is that Cinderella? That is Cinderella as your image. That is so cute. It's nice to meet you. And hello, thank you. Thank you very much, Rebecca. All right, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And guess what? I have a date tonight. What? Oh my God. So wish me luck on that. And I will see you all back here on Thursday, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy the home fun. Enjoy meeting your badass butterfly self, your future self, your inner wisdom. Enjoy the process. All right. And I'll see you on Thursday. All right. And I'll have Zoom together by then. My computer just was suffering. We'll fix that. All right. I'll see you soon. Bye for now, everybody. Bye.